Hello, everyone. Margie Roman here, and welcome back to another episode of Franchise Your Success with the one and only Dan Olsen. Hello, Dan. How are you doing?
Hey, Marjorie. It's always a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to talk with you today.
Of course, and we're also pretty excited because we've been getting quite a bit of questions on social media about the topic of franchising. And one of them was, is franchising for me? So today we're going to talk about that and super interesting topic that we all are wondering about. So please tell us, how does a franchise truly work?
Okay, so the franchise, the way it works is that someone comes along and they have an idea and they build a business. And this business they've probably gone through a lot of heartache and blood, sweat, and tears and failures and trying to figure this out and that out and for themselves. And they finally made it work. And it could be, and I divide them up into two different types of franchises. You can look at brick and mortar, which is storefront, which is still a lot of them out there, and a non-brick and mortar. And so non-brick and mortar is more of a small office, or it could be operated out of your home. So first of all, you kind of choose and you kind of figure out which one of those are going to be best. I was talking to a guy the other day that owns a very successful franchise that he operates out of his home. He says, I'm scared of signing a lease or hiring people. I just want to operate it myself. Okay, that's great, but then that becomes more of a job type situation. Sure, you can sell that, but where you gain some leverage is actually hiring a manager to run it. And that's usually more of a brick and mortar type location. So these people have come in, they've created these business ideas and thoughts, they've put their passion into it, and they've created something that's very, very successful. So now the next step is, how do I replicate that? Because they have people coming in saying, hey, this is really cool, or I love your food, or I love the way you perform this service, or whatever it is. And then they say, how can I get one of these? Well, I don't know. And they get enough of those people questioning that, and they start thinking, well, how do I replicate that? So everything starts as one. McDonald's started as one location. Massage Envy started as one location, and then it just grew because people were saying, hey, how do I get one of these? And so the owner decides, well, let's figure out how you get that. And so we turn it into a franchise, and there's certain rules and regulations that you have to do that by law. And they're pretty strict, but they're easy to get through if someone wants to do that. And so now it becomes a franchise where it can replicate, and others can join in this progress and this success that person has created. So the biggest thing that I look for in a franchise is the system. And what's been created to help someone like me or anyone else who wants to become a franchisee succeed. And so you look at the step-by-step system. And if there's a blueprint there that you believe you can follow, chances are it's something that you can be successful at too. So that's the biggest thing I look for is creating that system. And then of course, the other thing that I lacked in some of my earlier non-successful businesses was that mentorship and that support from the franchisor that they're going to give you to help make sure you succeed in that business. So, but franchising, is not necessarily for everyone. So if you were to draw a spectrum, imagine getting on a whiteboard or whatever, and you put the number 1 at one end, and you put the number 10 at the other end. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 in between there. And you look at number 1 and 2, maybe being areas where you are maybe not have the capacity really to run a business, and you just want to be an employee of whatever company it is. And so that number 1, 2, 3 area, you're in that area of, I'm always going to be an employee. I probably will never get to the point where I can run my own business. Then you look at the other end of the spectrum, and you look at that 8, 9, 10 area, maybe 9 and 10 especially, and that's more the pure entrepreneurial people. These are the people that are creating ideas and they're building their own businesses, and maybe they don't want to necessarily be part of a system because they're wanting to create their own system by themselves. So they're more pure entrepreneurs. But the middle part, which is the majority of the people, even that 3, 3.5, 4, 5, 6, 7, that's the most people. Most of the people need that support. They need a system to follow. They need help with a franchise. So that's where franchising lies. If there's someone like yourself, if you're looking for to start your own business, a lot of times it's actually, you've actually been successful in the corporate world. You're used to following direction, but you want to have that little bit of freedom. You don't want to continue to follow direction and report to a boss every day. You want to report to you, but yet you still have someone over here helping you, but you're the ones making the decisions on a day-to-day basis. And that's what a franchising allows you to do. It allows you to be in business for yourself, but not necessarily by yourself, because you have someone to help you and support you. So a lot of people who have been in the corporate world are very good franchise candidates because they're used to following a system, used to having some support, but now they're ready to do their own thing, and they're ready to have some freedom and step out of that box a little bit. And then there's the other type of person that doesn't necessarily need to be looking for a job as a franchise, but they still keep their job, and they acquire a franchise because it's an investment. And so they hire a manager through the proper system of the franchisor, and they're able to work with that manager, and that manager runs the franchise for them, so it can become an investment and not a job. And so that way you can build up several locations while you're working your job, if you got a little bit of flexibility, of course, until you're ready now to quit and be full-time at your franchise or full-time investor or full-time whatever you want to become. It allows you to get that freedom and build that up.
That's amazing. And yeah, it definitely sounds like a really good investment for sure. So you mentioned that there are some benefits that you would get from having a mentor. So what are some of those resources that, for example, a person like me would get if I were to start investing in a master franchise?
Okay, great. You know, Marjorie, we were chatting a little bit earlier. You ran track and field too.
I did,
yes.
And
that was awesome. And I had a chance to run track and field too. So we both have that passion. In fact, the same event, actually. So that's awesome to be able to compare that. So when you were starting out in track and field, or anybody in any sport or anything, you think you can just run out there and start doing it without any support or anybody teaching you how to do things? Why would you even try to do that in a business that you don't know that much about? You have to continually learn and understand that. In fact, I think back on my first mentor, and that was my dad. And he was an amazing man because he wanted to bring out the best in me and the people around him. He was a principal of a school, actually, and he taught at a very high level. And so did all my siblings. They were all so smart. They were educated, and a lot of my cousins were professors, and they wanted to, we just ran in the family. We had that education as something that we always took a hold of. But it wasn't for me. I struggled in school, and I couldn't be like my siblings, and I lost confidence because of it. And so I didn't know where I would end up, and I didn't know what to do, and I was fearful of my future. And so early in school, because I wasn't doing well and I didn't have confidence, I had some friends, but I didn't have a lot of friends like a lot of people. My dad helped me through that, and he helped me find some things that brought my confidence back. And one of those was running track. And I remember the summer of 8th grade, he told me, I've entered you into this track meet. We're going to go over to this high school over here nearby, and you're going to run against some other kids your age, and you'll run a 100-yard dash at that time and a 220-yard dash. And I said, I don't want to do that. I'll just stay home and play. I just like to play by myself in my room, build things and Legos or whatever it was at that time. But he said, no, let's go over and do this. So he encouraged me. He was always never demanding, but he's always encouraging. So I went over, and I had no idea what to do. And I had nobody to help me get into the blocks in the 100-yard dash. Remember that first time, Marjorie, you got in the blocks for the 100-yard dash, 100-meter dash in your case? Mm-hmm. It's kind of a little bit scary.
Yeah.
So I was pretty scared. I didn't know what to do. So I kind of watched what other people were doing. And as I watched them do that, I got a little bit of idea how to do it, but soon the gun went off. I got out of the blocks, ran down the straightaway, and I didn't think anything of it. I think I was maybe 4th, 5th, 6th, something like that. So nothing special in the 100-yard dash. And then my dad came back and he encouraged me and showed me a couple things about what to do with the blocks and how to do a few things, and because he had run track too. And so the next time I lined up for the 220-yard dash, I knew a little bit more what to do. And so I kind of watched what other guys were doing, listened to my dad, got in the blocks. Boom, the gun goes off, and I come around the corner, and I'm starting to pick up some speed. I'm starting to think, whoa, this is pretty cool. I'm feeling strong. I'm feeling good. And then I come up to the straightaway, and I'm actually ahead of everybody. And so I kept plowing down the straightaway and finished first. And so my dad recognized in me a talent. That mentorship meant everything to me. So because of what he recognized in me, I was able to gain that confidence back, get into athletics in high school and in college, and it helped me succeed in a big way and plan my life the way I wanted to do it because of the things that I'd learned. Then I had coaches along the way that were mentors that recognized other talents and put me in other events that allowed me to excel. And so because of that confidence and the mentorship I had, I was able to jump into now business, and I was able to receive mentorship. That's an important part of mentorship. Why have a mentor if you're not going to receive what they have to tell you and what they have to show you? And that's one of the things I really like about franchising or support in a business is these people know what they're doing because they've done it before. You follow their path, you follow their model, and it's a shortcut in business. And so that's what I've found is not have to go out and fail like I've already done many times, but franchising and following a system in any business allows us to do that. So mentors are a key, and we're a key. In fact, you look at any professional athlete or anyone at the top levels, you think they don't follow their coaches or the mentor's advice? They have mentors, they have coaches, because they want to be the best at what they can do. So find a mentor and attach yourself to that mentor and follow what they do because they have already blazed the path for you in that particular area that you're looking to follow.
That's awesome. And I remember that you mentioned that you had a couple of mentors when you started franchising. So how did you go about finding your mentor though? Because if I were starting into franchises, I'm like, well, who do I go to? How do I get to know that one mentor that is going to help me succeed and grab all the speed into like making sure that my business grows as fast as I can possibly do it?
Well, that's a wonderful thought and question. And when I moved from Colorado to Arizona, I met a neighbor that had also just moved in, and we got to know one another. And I was wanting out of my corporate job. I was tired of the politics and the things that were going on in the corporate. I'd reached a pretty high level in that company, but I just couldn't see my future there. And so I believe I was blessed to find someone who happened to be in my life at the right time, at the right place to help me through that. And this man introduced me to the world of franchising. And he became my mentor in franchising. And he showed me how master franchising worked. He showed me how the single units worked. And he helped me to actually become a franchise advisor and to help people find that right business and that right franchise. So we worked together for many years, and I learned a lot from him and a lot from the people that he introduced me to, and I'll be forever grateful for introducing me to those wonderful people. But this mentor, as he introduced me to the world of franchising, he also introduced me to a new world that I had never seen. And that was the world of business brokers and the world of franchise brokers. And these are people who specialize in helping people to find the right business. Sometimes it's buying an existing business. Sometimes it's buying in a new business, like a new franchise or a new license or some type of business that they're starting up. That was the business broker world. And then there was the franchise broker or franchise coach or franchise consultant world. Mm-hmm. And those people were helping people find the right franchise, weeding through or going through that maze of 4,000 franchising plus opportunities out there. Which one is the right one? They've already been through it. They understand it, and they can help coach you. So finding that right franchise or small business coach or mentor that's already been through it can help you pinpoint the right business for you was essential for me. And they became mentors to me and helping guide me to find that right franchise so that I didn't have to go and do all the research myself, which would have taken years to get through that.
Yeah, that's totally true. I mean, there's so many franchises out there that it's kind of hard to choose one without having the proper guidance. So we're super glad to have you as our coach and being able to learn more about which franchise is best for us. So there are quite a bit of different business opportunities around there. And we've been hearing about like franchises and chains. Is there a difference between those two?
Well, there is a difference in the legal structure. I mean, you look at a chain when they started out. I mean, take for example Starbucks. They did very little franchising. They pretty much put in corporate stores, so they would become more what's called, I guess, a chain. You see them on practically every corner, and they've become very, very well known. But it's been mostly corporately owned. And so they have achieved a tremendous success with that. Another great example of that is In-N-Out Burger. They don't want to do franchising. They want to own them all themselves and make all the money themselves. And because it was a one time a family, I think it still is, a family that had owned that, and they wanted to kind of keep the brand special in the way that they wanted to do it. But they have excelled as a chain. But then franchising has a special legal agreement and what's called a franchise disclosure document. And it contains in that document an agreement to follow the system and the program that the franchisor has set up because it's already successful. So through this legal agreement, that's what sets it apart as a franchise, called the franchise disclosure document. We call it the FDD for short. So every franchise has to have one of those to offer a franchise. And so as you get through that legal document, sometimes it's 200 or 300 pages long. That's where a mentor or a coach can kind of help you too. One of those coaches I talked about, they can kind of help guide you through that extensive document to get to the right point. So as you get through that document and you see a particular franchise, then you've got to also be able to adhere to those legal rules. But what smart companies do, I believe, is they do a little bit of both. And so in other words, they open up some of their own corporately owned locations themselves, and they build those and process those and generate income from those for the corporation. But they also offer the franchise through the franchise disclosure document, allow others to open locations in certain areas and share in that as well. Because what it becomes all about, we've become a nation, we've become a world of branding. So when we see a particular brand out there, I mean, certain clothes we see all the time. We got to have that particular brand of clothes, or we got to have that particular food because we know what to expect when we go to that particular restaurant. So branding becomes essential. But the smart companies, I believe, do a little both because they're franchising their business and they're doing corporate stores. And I always say, may the best strategy win. And in most cases, it will be the franchisees that build the brand the faster. So it's really kind of in a race to build the brand the fastest. For example, I'll use an example of in the early days of Massage Envy. They were the first company to franchise massages. At least as far as I know, I've never seen another one out there at that time. So they were very successful at franchising that, and we helped them build that and move that forward. And next thing you know, they're up to 1,000 plus locations. Then the others started seeing, oh, wow, this is a great success. We're going to copy that, or we're going to figure out our own little niche of using massage as a franchise. So there were several others that followed that. Now there's probably a dozen or so out there that have massage as a franchise company. But as they have grown, they haven't grown as much as Massage Envy because they had a really big head start. And so there might be some around that maybe a quarter of the size of Massage Envy. But because they got that big jump start being number one, they had the system, and we grew it so fast that no one had a chance to catch up. So had that been a corporately owned program and Massage Envy decided, you know what, we're just going to get investment capital and we'll go out and grow this, they wouldn't be as big as they are today. Probably close to $1.5 billion in sales right now, because they use the strategy of franchising. So I like to look at both strategies and may the best strategy win.
That's amazing. And I feel like also with franchising, it generates so many opportunities for other people to have a job and to have a better financial situation for their families. So that brings me to our next question. So one of the benefits for franchising is that it generates quite a bit of jobs. So what are some other benefits that you have seen in franchising?
Oh man, franchising, what it does is has a tendency to grab more market share than pretty much any other type of business structure. Franchising represents about $2.3 trillion in retail sales, or I guess I should say sales. So it's a huge marketing strategy that allows a lot of people to participate. And so it's a very, very powerful way to stimulate the economy, because franchising, as it grabs more market share and therefore higher profits for the franchisees, typically than a non-affiliated or an independent location that's not affiliated with a franchise company, it allows that to have usually more income for the franchisee, but as well, the franchisee to pay a little bit higher wages or salaries to the people who work for them. But here's one big key. So when you go to work for a company, in your corporate life, you maybe have a 401k plan, or you may have something to look forward to. But what we have in franchising is an opportunity for many of those employees, as they work in the franchise and work their way up, they get some credit toward owning their own franchise. I mean, you look at Domino's Pizza, for example. Many of those started working at Domino's, and they were able to acquire their own franchises as they worked through that. So they're actually training, the franchisor is actually training their future franchisees as employees. They can become their own business owners as they move forward. It's the ultimate 401k plan, because you get a chance to possibly own your own. Not every franchise company has that ability to do that, but a lot of them do. As you work your way up, working for the franchisee, you have the opportunity to own one down the road, and they help you get the financing and they help you put everything in place. So why not use that as a pool for future franchisees, because they've already been trained and they already know how to operate it. So it's the ultimate retirement strategy, I think, to find that right franchise as an employee.
That's amazing. Thank you so much again, Dan. And I'm sold. I'm definitely getting a franchise now. Well, thank you so much to everyone that was hearing us on this podcast, and stay tuned, because we're going to be talking about how to buy a franchise like a pro.